This lecture will contain material in Module 2, which includes formulas, functions, and formatting. The spreadsheet that we're going to complete in this module is the Clapmore Engineering. Now, every 2 weeks, the owners of Clapmore Engineering create a salary report by hand, where they keep track of employee payroll data. Before paying employees, the owners must summarize the hours worked, pay rate, and tax information for each employee to ensure that the business properly compensates its employees. This report includes the following information for each employee: name, email address, number of dependents, gross pay, deductions, net pay, and hire date. As the complexity of creating the salary report increases, the owners want to use Excel to make the process easier. To begin this module, we are going to start in Module 2, and we are going to open up the Module 2 textbook project. From there, we need to download our file that they have created for us. Remember, we always start with their file. So I'm going to download this file, open up my Microsoft Excel, and I will make sure it's the correct size, and then we will get started on this project. Just do a little bit of sizing here. So it puts it all in my window so we can see it all. Okay, and then I'm going to enable editing, and we will get started on the project. We begin with entering the worksheet title and subtitle. So in cell A1, we're going to type Clapmore or Clapmore Engineering and push enter. And then we will be typing salary report. Our next job is to enter the column titles. So with A3 selected, we're going to type in employees or employee. And we will continue on using the right arrow to type in the rest of them. Next, in cell B3 is email address. In cell C3, dependents. In cell D3, hours. And then we're going to type in hours worked by using Alt-Enter, and it just drops it down to D4. Oh, sorry. Oh, I see what they want. Hours worked. Okay, so what happened here is, and I'll show you that again. What it does is when we click Alt-Enter, it actually does a hard enter within the cell. So I'm going to undo that, and we will show that again. So for now, we have a single line that's going on. It says employee, email, address, and dependents. In here, we want it to be on 2 lines, so we put in a hard enter. So it's going to be hours, Alt-Enter, worked. so that it flows onto 2 lines like that. So now it is on 2 lines itself, but it's in that same cell. Really important that it stays within the same cell because it is the actual same column heading. Doesn't need to be in 2 cells. Okay, in cell E3, we want hourly. You can push tab. Oh, it's hourly pay rate. I wasn't paying attention. So now that I'm in this cell, I can put my cursor in the formula bar, and right after hourly, I'm going to type in Alt-Enter, and then I can keep typing that way. So I'm going to edit my cell, doing it that way rather than retyping it. So it's hourly pay rate, and then I'll push tab. Then we have gross pay. I'll push tab. State tax in cell H3. Oops, I missed it. It's federal tax in G3. State tax in H3. Tax percentage in I3. Net pay in J3, and hire date in K3. So we've put in our title, our subtitle, and our column headings. We now need to enter the salary data. So I'm going to select A4 and type Altor, comma, Bernie, and then I'll push tab, and in C4 to make that the active cell, and then I will type 3. So I'm going to be entering all the data on page 2-6. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to enter all of that data on page 2-6, where it has employee, dependents, hours worked, hourly pay rate, and hire data. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So our dependents are 3. Our hours worked are 74.5. Our pay rate is 35.25. And you'll notice in our hours worked, it took away our 0 for 74.50 worked. We're going to fix all the formatting with all the numbers and stuff like that. So that's okay. We'll just leave that. And gross pay we're going to leave alone for now. And we're just going to hire date. So we're filling in employee, hours worked, or dependents, hours worked, pay rate, and hire date. Now in our Excel here, we have to do it a little bit different than what they have in the book. So in order for our formatting to be date formatted the way they want it to, we actually have to make sure that our years, we add the 2010, for example, or 2012, or whatever it happens to be. So my first date in the book, it says 9/5/10. So if I put in 9/5/10, just the way they said, and then I push enter, you'll notice that it says that the hire date is 2009, the 10th of May. Well, that's not correct. That's not the formula. That's not the date we want. It's still formatted as a date, but we don't want that date. We want it to be 2010. Okay, so we're going to say 9/5/2010. Okay, and once we do that, it comes in as the correct date. So just be careful with your dates. Make sure you know which is the year and which is the month. All right, so I'm going to do the same here and continue on, and I'm just going to fill the rest of the data. And for me, I'm going to enter all the names first. I'll enter the dependents, hours worked, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll just continue down and get this data all in. And you can do the same. Okay, so I've entered all of the data that we had in there. The final thing that we need to enter is going to be the email addresses that we haven't even created a cell for. So we're going to enter a email address field for that. Okay, so I'm simply going to, oh, it is there. Actually, I just didn't see it. It is there. So I'll just move that over so I can see it. So in our email address, we're going to just start typing the email. So we'll start with the first one. And that's Altor Bernie. And it's baltor@example.com. Okay, and once I press enter, it automatically recognized it as an email address. So I don't have to worry about doing anything else with it. It automatically recognizes it because of the @ sign. And if I wanted to follow that or send an email to them, I could just click on it to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to enter the rest of the email addresses once I find out where they put them. Okay, so the email addresses that we need to fill in are over there on page, trying to find, 2-2. Okay, so Fox Linda follows a pattern of, let's see, what is it? L, just mean little l, Fox at example.com. There it is. Okay, and I'm going to push enter again. And now I'm going to do a fill on that, and we'll see if that works. I like it when things work very well. Because we have a pattern going, that's baltor@example.com and lfox@example.com, we should be able to do a flash fill from that. So we're going to enter Linda Fox, we have that, and we're going to try this and see what happens. So we're going to select in a cell right here, right down below that. It's going to hopefully work, so we'll try that. So we're going to go up to the Data tab, and in the Data tab, there are some data tools. So the Data Tools group, and we're going to look for something called Flash Fill. Okay, so the Flash Fill. So when we have Flash Fill, we could use Control+E, but I never remember all of those. It will automatically fill values. Now, just because we select it doesn't mean we have to take it. So if it does something wrong, we can just get rid of it. So I'm going to click that and see what happens. So now something really magical did happen. So we have all of our email addresses following the same format as they did before to figure out all these employees, okay? So that was really nice. So it took the first letter of their first name over here and their whole last name. So now it did a few things we have to fix though, right? So Clapboard Engineering, it did that for Clapboard Engineering and Salary Report. So all we're going to do in those cells is we're going to go into, and we'll just type in B1. Okay. Oops, let's just do a 1 and push enter. And then I'm just going to delete the contents from there. So there's a couple of ways of doing it. The one really good way of doing it is to clear the contents, because if I just get rid of that, it sort of keeps the formatting of a hyperlink. So I'm going to go back home, and I'm going to use this clear button. So this clear will delete everything in the cell or just remove the formatting. So I want it to clear all, and that way I don't have to worry about any leftover formatting that's in there. Okay, so I can select down and we can clear both of those cells. I'll clear all that. So I got rid of the that email formatting that was in there. Finally, to get this set up, we need to enter the row titles. So we're going to go to cell A13 and we're going to type in the word totals, push enter, A14 highest, A15 lowest, and A16 average. Okay, So now we're just going to fix up the sheet tab that we've done before in the last module. So we're going to double click sheet 1 and we're going to type in salary report as the tab name. And then we will change the color. So I'm going to right mouse button click, go to tab color, and I'm going to change the tab color to blue accent 1. Okay, so I'll go blue accent 5. Blue accent 1. There it is. I missed it. So blue accent 1. I had to find the right blue. Okay. So now it says salary report, and we're going to save our workbook. So I'll do a save as. I'm going to save as. I'll go to my desktop where I was saving my Excel stuff. In module 2 I'm in, so I'm going to create a new folder called module 2. And in module 2, I'm going to replace this new Microsoft Excel worksheet with SC underscore EX underscore 2 underscore Clapmore or Clapor. Okay, and I will say save. Excellent, we got that done. Next, we're going to move on to entering our formulas. So now we're going to enter the formulas. We have formulas for gross pay, federal tax, state tax, the tax percent, and net pay. We also have formulas for the totals, highest, lowest, and average. So on page 2-9, they have the formulas listed that we need to put into our spreadsheet. So that's great. So we know that they've said that gross pay, or F4, we'll start with F4 because we'll just do everything for Bernie first and then we'll just fill it down. So our gross pay equals hours worked times the hourly pay rate. Okay, so we're going to use the equal sign. So we use equals. That's the start of every formula. So that equals the hours worked. So we always select the cell. So we've selected the cell. So that's D4. And it's times, so we'll put a times sign, the hourly pay rate. And so we'll select E4. Okay, so we've created our gross pay as our hours worked times our pay rate. And then I'll just push tab. So that will take me to our federal tax. In the federal tax, they said that it's 20.26 or 26% times the gross pay minus dependents times 22.16. Well, that's pretty convoluted, but we're just going to do an order of operations, and we can actually type it in almost identical to what they have here. So let's try that. So we're going to say that equals, so we're going to go 0.26, and then we can use the times sign, times, and we'll use a bracket. So we'll just type in our bracket. I'll get my stuff out of the way. So you can see we're putting it up in the formula bar up here. So bracket, gross pay. So we look, where's our gross pay? So we're going to select this cell right here, gross pay, F4, and then it's minus on the number of dependents, so that's going to be in C4, so we'll just click C4, and we'll say times 22.16, and we'll close the bracket. Okay, so we're just going to double check our formula. Our federal is going to be 0.26 times the gross pay minus dependents times 22.16, and we'll push tab and see what happened. Okay, so we have federal tax is $666. So we got $65. Okay. So state tax. State tax says that it equals, it's an American book, right? It equals 0.055. So it's 0.55% times gross pay, times our gross pay. So we'll select the cell for gross pay. Okay, so we have 0.055 times F4 in there, and I'll push tab. So we got estate tax. Our tax percent equals, so we just make sure we're just going to follow exactly what they have written here. Oops, I took two equals bracket federal tax. So I'll click on G4, so federal tax, plus state tax, so I'll select H4, and bracket, and then we'll do a divide by the gross pay, and I'll put gross pay. Okay, so we got our tax percent is done, and our net pay equals our gross pay, okay, minus, we need a bracket in here, our federal tax plus our state tax. So we're just doing cell selection, and we'll just push enter, and we should have all of our data in there exactly the way we want it to be. So we've done Bernie's. So Bernie has his in there, and then we can just fill it down to make sure that we've got the right thing going on. Okay, so I'll just select the whole thing. So I can select all the way from F4 to J4, and then I'll just use my down arrow down there, or my, it's a heavy square, not square, I guess it's a crosshairs, and then we'll just fill it all the way down. Okay, so it's not formatted right now. Oops, I missed one. I got to fill one more down. Okay, so hopefully we have the same numbers they do. We certainly will find out now, won't we? It's sort of looking pretty good. Okay, so we've got that, and we're going to finally, we have this totals here. I don't think we care about the totals of dependents, but we do care about the total number of hours worked. So we can use auto sum for that. So we have our auto sum, our total number of hours worked, and we don't, hourly pay rate, we wouldn't do a total for that because it makes absolutely no difference. But what we'll do is we can do the auto sum for this one, and then we will fill across. So we got that in there. Actually, maybe I'll just fill it across once. There we go. So the state tax dropped down and did its thing. Okay, a percentage, I'm not sure why it went like that, but that's okay. We'll figure that one out. That does what it's supposed to. And then this needs to be an auto sum. And we will fill that across to net pay. Okay, so I think we've got exactly what we need. This should not be auto summed up. So I'm going to just get rid of that. I didn't want that one in there. A tax percent. There's no need for that tax percent to be in there. But what I will do is I will fill down this formula so that the tax percent is correct. Okay, so that's the total for our, so it should be 3.10. Yep, just making sure my numbers are right. And of course, our higher date, we don't have a total for that. Okay, so we should be good there. We've gotten all of our formulas in there, and we've done our totals. So our next thing that we're going to do is our highest, lowest, and average. So in Excel, there's numerous ways of doing things. One of the ways of doing things when we're looking at highest, lowest, and average. So we have the ability to, if I clicked here, like in my highest, I can go over to auto sum, and it would auto max, min, and average. Okay, so I could, so I'm just going to work with the highest for now. I could say max. So it automatically, just like auto sum, shows me the max value. But if I look here, it wants to know the maximum number of dependents there are. It types in equals max bracket C4 to C13. Well, the reality is in this case, I don't want C13. I actually want C12, right? So I'll just get rid of that. And then if I say enter, it says the maximum number of dependents was 3. Okay? So that's one way, or the first way, of putting in a formula like that. If I delete that, I'm going to delete that. And this time I'm going to say I know what the formula is. So that equals, and I would say max. And because it shows max and I put an open bracket there, I can now say, if it says equals maximum, or the maximum number, and once I put my bracket in there, I can simply then just drag all the way to what I want the max of. Oops. Drag what do I want? I don't know, just undid. So it says max C4 to C12. Now, in old Excel, you would have to make sure you put the bracket in, but in new Excel, they know that you want a bracket in there. So then when I push enter, it will, I'll go back to it, shows that you want the max of C4 to C12. So that's two ways. I can use the auto sum for max, or I can just type in equals max. Okay? Another way to do it is I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say I want to insert a function. Okay? Now lots of times this is the slowest possible way you can do it, but insert function works in a lot of cases. Especially if you don't, well, if you know what you want, it's faster. If you don't, then it's not so fast. So maybe I'm going to say I want max. And let's see if I can find it. Okay, so I just typed in max, so I knew what I wanted. It automatically puts the equal sign in there, and I have max is selected. Okay, so then I'm going to say OK. Now what that comes up with is a function arguments box. One thing about the function argument box is it's much easier to use in convoluted formulas. In simple formulas like this, it's not overly necessary. But what happens here is it says you want the max of, and this helps us because maybe we want the max of a whole bunch of different groups of items. So in this case, we want number. It says what numbers do we want? Well, we want the max of, they say C4 to C13. So we can choose to select or just change the numbers there. So I could change that to a 12. So I could just put my cursor here and change that to a 12, and that would be correct. And right here, down here, it says equals 3. And I know that that's correct as well. Or I can select this button right here, and it allows me to select. Okay, well in this case it kept the other one. I forgot to delete the other one, but I'll just get rid of that. Okay, so we have C4 to C12. So I'll say yes, that's correct. So then we will go and do the lowest. So in the lowest, I can go in there and I can do that function argument again. And if we think of lowest, we want the minimum amount, right? So we want min, it'll say go, I'll say okay. And then it says C14. It jumped up and it wanted the minimum value of C14. That's not correct. So I'm going to delete that. And I will use the select. So that's what this thing is right here. This arrow up kind of thing. And then I want the minimum number of dependents there were. So I'm going to select C4 to C12. C4 to C12. And I can either just push enter right now, because you notice my formula is right up there, or I can go back and say okay. Okay, so I'll go back, and the smallest number of the values is 0. Okay, so I said okay. Average, I'm going to do it a little bit different. This time I'm going to use the auto sum for average. Average number, I'm going to say average. And you'll notice that it says, oh, you want the average of those two numbers? So it picked the ones that were right above it, and I did not want that average. So what I want is the average of these guys right here. So I just select them instead. So it was highlighted, so it allowed me to just select those guys right there. So I'll say, that is what I want. Okay, so now I have the highest, the lowest, and the average. Okay, so we got that done. And now we need to see what else we need to get average of and highest and lowest. So I want the highest, average, or the highest, lowest, and average. Do I want it of hours worked? Yes, so I'll fill that over. I do want it for the pay rate, so I'll take the pay rate as well. So I did take the pay rate. I want the average. I could have filled across, I'm just not sure how far I'm going. I want that. And I would like the federal tax, and I'll take the state tax. See, it filled it in nicely for me. Now this one is considered mathematically crazy, so I'll just fill that across anyway, and I'll take the average net pay. Okay, so the average, I'm going to remove this because we don't really want that value in there, so I'm going to just delete it. So we want to delete the average for I-16. Okay, so I'm just going to delete that one. And it looks like we should be okay. We don't want anything in our hire date at all. So we've got all of the formulas in. We've used our fill handle. Our next step is going to be to format this sheet to look a little bit better. It's kind of not looking very dollarish. Okay, so now we're going to apply our formatting to the sheet to make it look a little bit better. So the first thing we're going to do is change the theme. So there's lots of themes in here. So we can show you, if we go to page layout, and you'll see the word over here on the top left-hand corner of themes. So if we select our down arrow, there's all sorts of different themes. It changes the font, it changes the spacing, it changes the colors. So if you see, if I scroll through, it really starts to look a little bit different. Okay, and sometimes the themes aren't the same depending upon the version of Office you have. So in this 2019 version, the theme that we're looking for should be there. So we're going to change the theme. Does it want us to change the theme? Click Gallery to change the workbook theme. Gallery. Let's see if we can find Gallery. We're going to choose Gallery. Okay, so we're just going to select the word Gallery. It's got a little bit of purple tinge in it. So that's the theme we're going to choose, is Gallery. Okay, so it changed our font down, changed the font sizes, and it made it look like this. So that's the one that we're going to choose. So now we're going to do some formatting. So we want to go back to our Home tab because we're on a Page Layout tab. We're going to merge and center our title. So we're going to select A1 and all the way over to K1. And we will do a merge and center. We will then take A2 and highlight it over to K2, and we'll merge and center that one as well. Okay. Then we're going to apply a title theme or cell style to our cells A1 and A2. So going to do the first one is going to be both of them. We're going to select both of them because they both want to be titles. So I'll select them off. It doesn't want me to select them, so I'll select both of them. And then we're going to go to cell styles, and we're going to make them both a title. Okay, so we're both title. And for our subheading, it both sort of looks the same. We're just going to drop the font of our subtitle down. Okay, so we're just going to select A2. And up here, do you see where it has the capital A that says increase font size and a capital A that says decrease font size? So it will just decrease or increase the font size. So we want to decrease the font size. So the next lower font is where it will go to. So we'll click down one, and it dropped down 2 fonts to 16. Okay, so it dropped down to 16 font. And so now we have it just a little bit smaller, but the formatting is the same as it was before. Our next step is to change the background color. And we're going to apply a border box to the worksheet title and the subtitle. Okay, so we're going to select the range A1 or to A2, A1 to A2. So we have that selected. And we're going to go to our fill handle up here, fill color. And we're going to choose Indigo Accent 5. Let's see what that is. Indigo Accent 5. There it is. Pink. Let's find it. Lavender. Purple. Indigo. There it is. Indigo Accent 5. Lighter 80%. Lighter 80%. So we'll select that one. So we went to Indigo Accent 5. Lighter 80%. Okay, and then we will go to borders. So if we have a drop down arrow right here, this is a border area. So when we click that, whatever is up here, like that shows, was the last border we used. This is the default that's on there now, but the last border we used will be up there. So we click the borders, and we're going to choose outside border. So we just want the outside borders. Okay. So I clicked outside border, and now I'm going to select anywhere else in the sheet. So you'll notice the outside border stayed there. Okay, so for future use, so say I wanted to keep using it. But now we have this lavender kind or indigo kind of thing with an outside border. Now we're going to apply a cell style to the column headings and format the total rows. So we're going to select A3 to K3, okay? A3 to K3. So we select this whole column here, or sorry, row here. When I hold it too long, it pops off, okay? So we want to use our cell styles, and we want to use heading 3. And so I just select heading 3. We want to center it. So So I'll use the center button up here. We want to center it. And I want to apply the total cell styles to the range A13. So I'll go down here to A13 to K13. So I'll select A13 to K13 and I will apply the total style. So I'll go to cell style and I will apply total. Okay. And I'm going to bold the range of A14 to A16. Okay, so highest, lowest, and average. I'm going to select those, and then I'm going to come up to my font, and I'm just going to select bold. Okay, so we got some of the formatting done. Then we're going to format the dates, and we will center all that data in the cells. Okay, so now we are going to work on the date. There is an issue with our date, especially with the marking, and that is because they're working on an American version and we're on a Canadian version, and it didn't recognize this as date. So what we need to do is we need to just change the entering of our date that we put in. So we're going to put in year. So in this case, we'll put 2010 and then a dash, and then we have 9, which is our month, and 5 for our day, or sorry, our day. So in this case, it should be 9/5/10. So it should be the 9th month, 5th day. So we need to change our dates. I'm just going to put them here. I'm going to sort of do a little cheat here so that I can see what they are. So this was 2012. I'm going to just put a dash, 10/17. And then I'll copy and paste that right over top of that so that I can fix my formatting and my dates. So yeah, it's just, we want it to work well with this program. So we're going to have to do something that we wouldn't do until like module 8 or 9, but we're going to do some special formatting. I'll walk you through it. I don't know if you'll continue to have to do it, but at least if we can create it, that would be good. So 2013, 2 and 2, 2016, 1 and 15th day. We just have to deal with this Canadian American kind of thing. 5/18, 2013, 5 and 24. 2011, oops, 11, 2006, 29, oops, 4 and 29, and then 2017, 9 and 22. Okay, so I just changed the dates so that they are looking Canadian for now, and then I'll alter them. So hopefully that works. I'm going to copy that. So I'm just going to select what I wrote in there, and I just did it because I wanted to be able to see these. And then I'll click select copy. So I have a dashed line that's making fun. Then I'll just put my cursor right over here and select the area I want it to copy or paste to, and then I'll just come over here and I'll just click paste. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. There's also more ways of doing it. So now we put our date in here. It's Canadianized, but we're going to fix that. So then I'll just select this information I have here, and I will just push delete on my keyboard to get rid of it. Okay, so it's gone. So now I have my new dates in Canadian format, and then I'll fix it off to be American format. So I'm going to select this right now, and I'm going to go into my date. and I'll go scroll down all the way down in my number formats to go to more number formats. Okay, so one of the things that we have here is in English Canada, they don't have the formatting that they wanted here. So they want 3-14-/12 is what they're showing in the book. So that would be month, year, or so month, day, year. And in this right here, they have day, month, year. Okay, so even if I go down and choose US, okay, so I'll go down and scroll down to your locale, and I go to United States. Okay, the US does have month. It's got month, day, and year. So they do that so that we can change it to this right now. The issue with that, so I'll just change it, all of these to American type, okay? So I'm going to do that, except that we want to have slashes, not dashes, okay? So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to format those again. I'll just go to more number formats. And this time I'm just going to go and click in custom because I want to customize this, okay? So I want it to say, I want it to be month, day, year. So if I click here, you see it's showing month, day, year. So it's not month, month. If it had an MM, that would mean month, month, which would mean it would sort of put 04 and 09. Okay, so this here, when we're in custom, this is where we can customize it. So right up here, we're going to change that. We're going to backspace the dash out and put a slash in. Okay, so now we're customizing it a little bit more so that the program doesn't get too upset with us. So up here, you'll see the sample. It says we have month, day, year. So it shows that we have 2 values for a year, a single value for the day, and a single value for the month. So that's going to make the program much happier. So we'll just say OK, and it fixed it for us. So if you ever have a problem with it, just let me know and we could fix that up for you. Okay, so we formatted the date exactly the way they wanted it. Next, we're going to format and center a bunch of stuff. So we're going to go from C4 to C16, C4 to C16, and we're going to click the center button so we can center that. And we'll select E4 just so that we can deselect that whole range there. All right, so now we need to get our numbers all figured out here. So we're going to do some accounting number format and comma style. So the rule of thumb is usually that the first row where we have dollar signs, or sorry, where we have dollars or currency, we put the dollar signs in the first row, and of course in our total rows as well. But in the middle rows, we don't want to have a whole sheet full of dollar signs. So then that's what comma style is for. So we're going to select E4 to H4. So E4. So hours worked is not a dollar. It is hours. So we want to select E4 to H4. Okay. And we want net pay. So we're going to hold the control key down. Okay. So select the control key and select J4 as well. Okay. And we are going to choose, we're going to choose more too. So we want F13 to H13. So clicking your control button again, we're going to hold the control, F13 all the way over to H13, and then we're going to select J13. Okay, so I have to click my control every time I want to select another cell. So we had E4 to H4, hold the control key down and select J4. Then let it go, let your control key go, and then come down to F13, hold your control key and select to H13. Let your control key go, and then hold your control key again and select J13. Okay, we want those to be accounting number format. All right, so now we have those looking pretty good. So we're going to select the ranges containing our comma style format. So we want E5 to H12. So I'll just E5 to H12, and I'll just click the number or the comma number format. So you'll notice that there's a lot of decimals in here because it kept all of the decimals, but for us, we don't need those. We can make them look like for 2 decimals. And then we're going to select J5 to J12 and do comma number formatting. So it's starting to look a little bit better. And then we'll select D4 to D16. Okay, so D4 to D16 all the way down. And we're going to select the comma number again so that it has 2 decimals in it all the time, right? Okay, so we did that part. We're going to apply currency style with a floating $sign. So we're going to change things. So we're going to select the range E14 to H16. So we'll go to E14. Oops. I'll X out of that. E14 to H16. And I'll hold the control key, and we want J14 to J16. Okay. So we're going to go up to our number formatting area here, and we will click on number format right there. And we're going to click on currency. So now we have more control over our currency. So we want currency, and we want to have the third style or whatever they want there. So they want the one that we have here. So it looks like this. So this shows down here what the negative numbers are. So we could select either one of these. They're pretty much the exact same thing. It shows what our negative numbers are going to look like. So once again, we have, we're a little bit Americanized, so we'll see how this works because we don't have the brackets for our, we have a negative value, whereas theirs have the brackets. So if there's any problems with that, we'll get that fixed. That's not a big deal. Okay. So then we want to have that as currency. So you'll notice the difference between the accounting number format and the currency number format. So the accounting number format, it has what's known as a floating $sign, and the $sign always sticks right at the left-hand edge of the column. That's sort of a standard, it sticks there. This one here, when we do the currency style, it's right tight with our number, our first number. Okay, so it's always right tight. It doesn't just stay over there and looks like it's floating. So we got that. Now we're going to add the percent style format and then increase our decimals. So we want to select our cells I4 to I15. So we have I4 all the way down to I15. Okay. So we're going to go to our percent style. So we'll just select the percent style. And we notice that it automatically, when we did our percent style, has 0 decimals. And 0 decimals is not a good thing when we're dealing with percents because percents are pretty precise. So we want to have 2 decimals. So we're going to go over here and we're going to see we have an increased decimal and decreased decimal. So if I click the increased decimal, I can have as many decimals as I want actually. If I decrease my decimals down, if I had too many, okay? So I want 2 decimals, so it looks pretty uniform. So we're gonna leave that right there, and it looks like it's going to work quite well for us. So we have 2 decimals with our percent. So our next step is conditional formatting. So conditional formatting is simply that something will show a condition, or it will show up in a certain way if it meets a specific criteria or condition. In this case, we want to show any cell with a value greater than 70 in column D. So if somebody works more than 70 hours, we want it to be noted. So we want to be able to see. So it's going to show up with a purple background and a white font. Okay, so it just sort of shows up when that value is greater than 70. So now we need to select the range. So we're going to select the range of D4 down to D12. Oops. Okay, D4 to D12. Just stop it. You're just being a jerk. There we go. You've got it selected. So we're going to create a new rule in the conditional formatting. Okay, so on the Home tab, we have in our styles, we have conditional formatting. So there's some auto formatting things that we can have, but for now we're going to create our own rule. So we're going to create a new rule, and that new rule formatting comes up. So we have all these different choices right here. So we want to have a new rule that says format only cells that contain. So we just have to figure out what we want it to do. So we want to format only cells that contain. And then this is our rule description. So we have a cell value that is, well, we want it to be 70 or greater than. So we want it to be greater than, and we want it to be greater than 70. So anybody who works more than 70 hours that week, I want to know about it, right? So what do we want to do with it? So this is the rule, and what do we want to do with it? So that's where we click our format. Okay, so we're going to format that. Okay, so now we say, oh, well, what do we want to do with that? So what do we want to do with that? We want to format the font. No, we don't care about the font. Oh yeah, we wanted to change the font to white, didn't we? So we want to go to the font color, and we're changing it to white. Okay, we want white background 1. I'll just double check that I did white background 1. Okay, and then if we had it white on white, we wouldn't be able to see it at all. We're going to go to fill, okay, because we want to change the background color, and we're going to choose the, what is this one going to be? Purple color, and what does that say? Is that the color we want? Or is that the color we want? Oh, I think it's this one right here. Doesn't come up and tell us exactly what we want, but we want that color. Okay, so we have that, and it should show. So we're going to say okay. So we have the fill background and the font. Okay, and then we'll just say okay. And then down here is our preview to show what it's going to look like. And if it doesn't look like what you want, go back and change your formatting again. Okay, so this is the formatting rule. We selected the cell, we changed, we decided what we wanted to do with it, what type of rule we had. We told it what the rule is. If they're greater than 70, show it to us in this color. Okay, so now I'm just going to select off of this. So now you'll notice that anybody who works more than 70 hours, it shows up. So if this drops down, so this one says 80, okay, so let's say next week she only worked 20, it goes away, right? So I'll put her back to 80, but that rule only applies if they work more than 70 hours. All right, so we got that done. And there are a lot more operators out there for rules like that, but we'll talk about those as we go along. I think our final thing that we need to do is just make sure everything fits. Our column widths are not perfect right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of shortcut. So we're going to select column A, B, and C. And because we selected all three, whatever we do to one, it does to others. So we're going to double click so that all three will be fixed with what's known as best fit. So I'll double click, and now we have our best fit of those three columns. Okay, so we're going to go to column H right there. We're going to click on column H, and we want to, oh, that's what we want to do. We just want to see whether when it goes to a double arrow right there, and we want to drag until it indicates a width of 10.38. Okay, so right up here, I'll click width of 9.51. So we want it to go half. Now, this can be really frustrating, okay? So there's an easier way to do this because, see, I can go to 89, 85. It's sometimes hard to get exactly what they want. And that to me is just totally frustrating. So the easier way to do it is to select it, right mouse button click, and go to column width. Okay, in column width I can say I want it to be an exact width, so 10.38, because I could spend all day going, I don't want to do that. Okay, so now it is 10.38. So that's nice, it's already done. So we got that. Column D. So click the column D heading right there. And so we want to select column D. And while holding down, click the column E. So we want column D, column E. So we have D and E and I. Okay, and then we're going to right mouse button click, go to column width, and we're going to change those widths to column widths of 10.5. Okay, so we change the column width to 10.5, and we'll say okay, that's good to go. And if we go to column F, we want column F, column G, so I'm holding my control key, column G, column J, and column K. So I've selected 4 columns using my control key. I'm going to change the width, so I'll right mouse button click again, column width, and this time I want it to be 11.13 pixels, or sorry, the width of 11.13, and I'll say okay, and that is done. Okay, so now all of our column widths are good to go, and we can move on to our row heights. So in our row heights, we have, let's see, what do they want? Point to the boundary, row 3, okay, so our row heights we can change like this, up and down, just like we could with our columns. But in this one, we want to drag down until it gets to be 39. Okay, so we might get to 39. Oh, I got it to 39. I could double check that it's 39 by going right mouse button click, row height, and it says it's 39. So that's good. I'll say okay. We want heading below heading 14 until so we're looking for 14. So this time I'm just going to select row 14, right mouse button click, do row height, and my row height is right over here, and row height of 24, so 24.00, and so highest drop down to 24. Is that the one they wanted? Yes, it is. Okay, so I think we're looking pretty good. And I'm just going to click save up here because we did some work and I just wanted to save it. We're going to do a save as in a second. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay. All right, so our next thing is we're going to do a spell check. In Word, when we have a misspelled word, it underlines it with red. We can type all sorts of bad words and they would never do it in here unless you actually do a spell check. Okay, so we're just going to put our cursor up here in A3 and we're going to go over to the Review tab. So we'll select on the Review and we're going to look up here and go to ABC Spelling. Okay, so Spelling. So what's going to happen is it will do a spell check for us and we're going to check it all out. One of the things with the employee names, we're probably not going to worry too much about them. So we'll just skip through those. So we'll ignore them until they get to the ones that we actually care about. But for us, I think we probably haven't made too many spelling errors unless I made a mistake with some of these names. But when I upload it, they'll tell me if I did or not. So I can just ignore all of the names. And it says that I've completed the spell check. There's nothing else wrong, which is good. And I can say yes, it will start again. And I can just say that. It'll start right back up at the top. It says I didn't miss anything. So that's one way of doing it. The other way, you can just click the whole sheet and do a spelling check and it will go through the whole sheet as well. So I can just keep going and it says we're good to go. Okay. So it looks like I didn't make any spelling errors other than names, and I could have spelt some of these guys' names incorrectly, but I'll let our upload there fix that. All right, so printing the worksheet, I guess we have to fix this so that it's set to the specific look that they want. So we're going to change the margins, header, and orientation of in page layout view. So we're going to go up to page layout. And there's a couple of ways to do that. We can do it up here with all of the items are up here as well. But right down here we have some views. So we have a normal view, we have a page layout view, and we have a page break view. So we're going to click the page layout view. And in the page layout view, it really shows what it's going to look like. It shows this is where the page would print. We can tell it's not going to be super duper. We need to fix a lot of things. You notice in our net pay, we've got some issues here. So this $ just shows that it's squished together a little bit, and that's how it's going to print. So we can make sure we fix that. Okay, so we want to go to the margins. So we'll go up here to our margins, and we're going to change our margins to narrow. So we have normal, wide, and narrow. Okay, so we fixed our margins to narrow. And then we have different areas in our pages here. Okay, so we're going to scroll up in here where it says add header on both pages. So whatever we do, a header shows up on all pages. So we only need to do it in one. So we have the left header, center header, and right header. So we want to click the center header, and we want to type Madeline Samuels, and then press enter. Madeline Samuels, and we're going to type in Chief Financial Officer. Okay, and when I click off of that, you'll notice it went on every single page. That's going to be on the header of all the pages that we have. Okay, so that's in there. And we're going to select cell A6 to deselect it. We can go down here, and now we're off the header area. We're going to change our orientation. So we want to change our orientation. So we'll go back here, and we'll go back into our page layout here. We're going to change our orientation to landscape. Okay, so orientation, portrait, landscape. Starting to look a little bit better, isn't it? We're getting it on one page, which is nice. Okay, and then we want to, got that, double click the border to the right of the column heading F. Okay, so I'll double click, made that, resize so that it showed, and we want to do the same thing to J, so that it shows all the numbers. So with the number sign where you see all that number sign, just means the cell isn't big enough. Okay, so we still have that hire date over there. So we'll go and see if we can fit it all onto one page. Okay, so we've got our print preview, or our page layout. Now we're going to go to the backstage view. So we'll go to File, and we'll go to Print. And right down here you can see that it's on 2 pages. Okay, so we have this, we have 2 pages for that, but we want to make sure this isn't floating on that page. We want it on the other side, right? So we're going to go to Fit Sheet on One Page. So it sort of squished it up a little bit and fit that sheet on one page. So that's good. That's exactly what we wanted. We could print specific cells, so we'll do that as specific. I'm not going to print this out right now. I don't have to. So that's done. Now we can print a selected area of it. So maybe there's parts we don't want, so we can choose what we want to print. Okay, so we're going to select the range to print. So we're in the back, I'm going to back up a little bit. So in here, I'm going to select A3, whoops, where's A3? A3 to F16, okay? So I'll just scroll down, F16, okay? I don't really want all the rest of it, maybe. So then I can go back to backstage view and go to print, and this time I can say print selection. So I selected something, and now it will only print the selected area that I have. Okay, so I can also choose to print active sheets. So that's the sheet that I'm on right now. I can print an entire workbook, and the entire workbook is can be every sheet that I have in my workbook. Okay, let's see where it wants me to leave. I just want to make sure I don't leave it so that I get it marked wrong. So we're going to the print selected, and okay, click the print preview. Currently selected. Okay, so sometimes you got to make sure that we get the right thing and don't go back to what we weren't supposed to be. So I'm going to go back, and I'll go back to my normal view down the bottom here so that it looks kind of normal. And I'm going to click anywhere to deselect the range. And so now I have set it up as landscape view and fits to one page. Should look good. Another really fancy thing that I use when I do marking and stuff like that is, I call it control squiggly line, but it's actually control accent mark. But what this does is, if you click anywhere in your worksheet, just select anywhere, and then you select control, and I call it a squiggly line. It's above or just below the escape key on your keyboard, and you can select it, and it shows all of your formulas. Some people don't like it because it shows all your formulas, but it does show all of your formulas. Okay, so now we have all of our formulas showing, and this is good for auditors when they want to go and audit your spreadsheet, and sometimes this is where you find the errors. And you'll notice in our hire date, they have these dates, or these are just days. They're coded days for the date. So I'm just looking to see whether they want us to print it. So let's see, we got that. We're going to go until column K appears. That does. We're going to do page setup, so we're in page layout, and we're going to do the page setup. We'll open up that. So that was that more button for our page setup, and we want to make sure it's on landscape view. That's good. And it says, if necessary, click fit to option in the scaling area. So we want to fit to option one page by one page. So then if we did that and we said print, so we go to the print one, and what it has here is not necessarily looking awesome, but that's okay. It still says it's on one page. It's just not showing up for some reason on me. So maybe I got that going on. Click over here and we'll see. So we have landscape, fit to, maybe it just doesn't want to do that. Print. Mine's not coming up. Yours might be coming up. I don't know. It might be just a glitch, or maybe it's just waiting to do it. But we did exactly what it says. So if we scroll down and we look, we says we want it to go to a printer, print active sheets. Oh, we want print active sheets. We'll make sure that was on. So the print selection was on. That's what the problem was. And we have it on landscape and narrow margins and fit sheet to one page. Okay. So that looks good. And we're going to then save our worksheet. So I'm going to back it up. And I think we want to, after viewing, we're going to go control squiggly line again. And that is below our escape key. Okay. So we might need to, I'll just do a print preview. Let's go to print again and see what it looks like. No, that looks good. Fit sheet to one page. It looks like it fits it right down. It looks good. So now we'll do a save as, because then we're just going to upload it and see what happens. So I go do save as, and I'm going to save it as this name right here. So I want it saved as the SC_EX_2_clapor_my name, and I will save that. So now that that is done, we're going to upload it and see if we have any errors to fix. So I've uploaded a few of them before because I had some issues down there. So now I'm going to go back to my submit for grading. I'll just X out of that one. I'm back here, and I'll go to my textbook project 2 for module 2. It will come in. I will start. It's expecting this file right here. So I will find it and drag and drop it. So it's in there. I will submit for grading. and I will view my grader summary report. Okay, and see what I have to fix, because I always have to fix something. I never get it right the first time. Okay, so it's going to open up. Okay, and so it says that I got 93 out of 100, which means that I need to fix a few things. So it says on sheet 1, worksheet 1, cell A4 should contain the value shown in table 2-1. So obviously I made a mistake. You guys probably figured that one out a while back. So I'm just going back to see what I did in sheet 1, worksheet 1, cell A4. Okay, let's go back to A4. Okay, A4. Oh, I said he was Bernie, but he's Benny. Okay, delete. He's Benny, not Bernie, so I fixed him. Let's see what else there was. Oops, where'd it go? Right there. Okay, I did that. In the salary report worksheet, the formula in H13 should contain the sum function. Okay, so let's look at H13. H13, what does it say? Oh, it should be a sum. All right. So sales tax, they wanted to sum up. So I'll do auto sum. So it's the sum of our state tax. And that's good. So I fixed that, and I fixed that. Oops, back to my sheet. And that's it. So now that I did that, I should be able to X out of this one, save this one, and upload it again. Okay, so I'm going to, that's why we get so many chances, right? We just want to get everything fixed. So this is the final thing. And I should get 100 now, right? I should get 100. So I'll put this one, drag and drop it, submit it, attempt 5, look at me go. And what do you think? If we got 100, that's awesome, and then we will stop the recording. 100 out of 100. Excellent. All right, your turn, get that all done, and then move on to the projects.